Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with roll call. Dave Walbrenner.
Here.
Becky Engel.
Here.
Jeremy Weller.
Here.
Jan Weitrick.
Here.
Christina Shark is here. Morgan Brown and Brian Jones are absent tonight. Next item is adoption of agenda and declaration of quorum.
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. Tonight we have the public hearing for the proposed property tax levy, and we'll start with an opening statement from John.
Yep. Thank you, Christina. This first board meeting is a little different. This is part of the proposed tax levy, the certified budget for 24-25. The legislature made some changes last year, and what's occurred so far is that we had a budget presentation with the board on February 26th. We put together a proposed tax levy and sent that to the Department of Management and the county auditor by March 15th. They sent taxpayer statements out to all Wapello County taxpayers showing them the proposed levy by the school, the county, and the city, and those were sent out after March 20th. We published the proposed levy meeting notice, which is for this meeting right now, in the March 28th Ottumwa Courier, and then this is the hearing on April 8th. And what this is designed to do is give individual taxpayers an opportunity to provide either written or oral comments to the board in regards to the property tax levy. Just briefly, that levy notice would have went out. It's new this year, and it would have shown what the current tax year dollars collected by the school are and the rate, what 24-25's proposed tax rate and dollars generated are, and the property tax generated on a $100,000 home at the current rate and the proposed rate, all designed to give the taxpayers additional information. There was also a section on there that causes some confusion where it is the effective tax rate is what they call it, and it's based on the current year property tax valuations and what they would generate in last year's dollars. So not something that's incredibly practical, but something that was on that statement nonetheless. So those went out. I received 2 phone calls in my office and explained the notice to them. I did not receive any prior written comments, and then I will give it over to the board president to ask for any oral comments.
Does anybody have any oral comments to give regarding the hearing for the property taxes? Okay, hearing none, we'll accept a motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. We are adjourned. The next meeting cannot start until 6:05. I have 6:06. I think we're good. We'll call the next meeting to order and start with roll call. Dave Walbrenner.
Here.
Becky Engel.
Here.
Jeremy Weller.
Here.
Jan Weitrick.
Here.
Christina Shark is here. Morgan and Brian are absent. They are still gone. Next up, adoption of agenda and declaration of quorum.
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is citizen speak. We now open our citizen speak portion of the agenda. We would invite anyone in the audience who has completed a green comment card or others who would like to address the board to please step up to the podium. State your name and your address so the board secretary can capture it for the minutes. We ask that you limit your comment to 3 minutes to allow for sufficient time for all those interested in addressing the board to ensure other agenda items receive attention in an efficient manner. Please know, while the board is always pleased to hear from citizens who would like to address them, we are not able to engage in conversation. If you would like to further engage on any specific topic, you can contact board members before or after the meeting. You can find our contact information on the district website. That being said, I do have one green card tonight from David Locke.
I'm David Locke. I live at 242 South Willard Street. My question is on the new sports complex they're building now. It's already under construction. I'd like to know if anybody can answer, is that going to be open to the public or just for students and faculty? And is it paid for by the taxpayers or what? Where's the funding come from?
David, those are great questions. I'd be glad to follow up with you and be glad to answer those questions for you. If you just leave your contact information, and I will give you a call tomorrow. Would that work for you?
The sports complex across from the school.
The gyms.
Well, isn't it supposed to be 2 or 3 gyms, tennis court and something else? I don't know.
Oh, you may be talking about the,
I may be confused. I don't know.
oh, yeah, there's 2 complexes going on. One is our competition gym.
Right.
But the other one is an indoor athletic complex. And that has a track. It has a soccer field.
Is that across from the school?
No, that one's across from
Riverside.
Bridgeview. Yep.
Okay, the one across from the school, why are we building, what, 2 more gyms?
Yeah.
2 more gyms, and we got 2 gyms we're not even using.
You have craftfully got around the offer. I'd be glad to answer that if I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Go ahead and
if you'd like.
answer that.
We usually don't interact in these type.
So you don't want to interact at all?
No, I do.
Okay, I'll contact you later.
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
In other
interact.
words, it's a closed meeting. You guys are just automatic. Yeah.
I wouldn't interpret it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, David. Does anybody else have any comments for the board? Otherwise, next we'll move on to employee recognition.
We're excited this evening to recognize some very worthy school employees, and Kate will read off their names, and then we will congratulate them. So, Kate?
First, we have Lacey Cornick. Mrs. Cornick is a teacher at Evans Middle School and has been employed by the district for 4 years. She was nominated by students. Mrs. Cornick is always following our Bulldog beliefs. She is so compassionate to others. She's responsible in everything she does. She never gives up on us, and she'll always put a smile on her face and carry on. She's very respectful, too. If we look down, crying, or are very quiet, she'll ask us if we're okay. I trust her so much, and I can always count on Mrs. Cornick. Personally, I think being a teacher seems really hard, but she is funny, and I know I can count on her. She makes our class so much fun to be in. Congratulations. Next, we have Amanda Jivak. Mrs. Jivak is a teacher at Ottumwa High School and has been employed by the district for 11 years. Mrs. Jivak does an excellent job including all students. She is so kind, compassionate, patient, encouraging, helpful, and thinks critically about ways to help all her students in her art classes. She sees the good in every child's artwork, no matter their skill level. Mrs. Jivak goes above and beyond to accommodate, include, and teach art to level 3 special education students with severe disabilities. She does an excellent job teaching and is a really awesome coworker. Congratulations. Next, we have Kurt Hopkins. Mr. Hopkins is a hall monitor at Liberty Elementary School and has been employed by the district for 10 years. Kurt goes out of his way to get to know and connect with his students. He has a presence that could intimidate most. However, you will find nothing but comfort, fairness, accountability, trustworthiness, and someone who is genuine in fostering relationships. Kurt is someone that students can rely on. He gives it to them straight and holds them to high standards and expectations. Our schools are better because we have Kurt. Our wrestling numbers are soaring due to his magnetic pull and recruitment. And most importantly, some of our hardest, needing the most love students have a wonderful role model and person to connect with. Congratulations, Kurt. Next, we have Jessica Rockhold, who's unavailable to be with us tonight. Ms. Rockhold is an associate at Evans Middle School and has been employed by the district for 13 years. Ms. Rockhold goes above and beyond every day. She is the go-between when kids get in trouble to ensure that they are still learning. Ms. Rockhold spends her days making sure everything runs smoothly, that students don't miss important instruction time or assignments while serving in school. Not always an easy job, and we are grateful to have her every day. Next, we have Amy Woodard. Mrs. Woodard is a teacher at Wilson Elementary School and has been employed by the district for 13 years. Amy works hard to ensure all students have associate coverage, covers associate lunches, helps support our SAT team, and provides teachers with ideas on what they can do for interventions with their students. She has gone above and beyond as we recently had a new student start that doesn't have the support in place yet, but jumped in to make sure that student's school experience is a positive one. Amy comes to work every day with a positive attitude, and her patience is phenomenal. She is so calm and caring with all of her students she works with. She's truly an asset to Wilson Elementary. Congratulations.
Okay, next on the agenda is the consent agenda.
I
Make a
move.
motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, board priority, we will promote and monitor growth in student achievement, and all students will be challenged with high expectations that will meet or exceed measurable targets. This is an informational topic with an Eisenhower Elementary update.
Thank you for having us tonight and allowing us to update you on the progress that we are making with our school improvement plan at Eisenhower School. We have, I believe, 5 of the Marzano elements that we're focused on this year. We have 2 that are maintenance goals. These are areas that we focused on last year, and we're just continuing our focus. The first one is celebrating success. And some of the things that we're doing and continuing this year are just visual representations around the building of student progress for kids. I'll let Ms. Carlson talk a little bit about how she uses that in her first grade classroom.
So for our iReady goals, each student that passes 100% on a lesson gets to go out to the hallway and put a little, like this, the one they're showing me there is January. It was a ball for 2024. Now we're doing plants for April, and they're going out and putting out flower pot, like little flower petals to put on the pots. If they pass 100%, they get to put one out there. If it's 83% or 100%, they have a little individual goal sheet that they can actually color in on themselves. Our goal started from way back in January. I think it was like 50. Now we're up to 90, and we're already halfway there in April. So it's been a great goal.
So just a way to visually monitor student progress and let students know that we're following their progress and keeping up with the work that they're doing in class. Some grade levels are focused on academics. The kindergarten pizza that you see there, that's focused on social, emotional, behavioral goals that they have to help them be ready to follow expectations in first grade. And then you can see at the top there, that's a picture of our annual sock war. Mr. McGrory wasn't there that day to join in on the fun this year, but that was the teachers versus the winning students in a sock war. It's just like volleyball with socks. The kids love it. It's an annual tradition now. We have to do it where we compete to see who can throw more socks on the other side of the gym. Nobody gets hurt, no injuries. It's a great event. So we'll keep that up. Our second goal, I think I might have missed one. Did I miss one? Yes. Actually, our first goal was motivating and inspiring students, which was the focus for the whole district last year. And so it is a maintenance goal for us as well. And we also touch on this through all the academic goal setting that Ms. Carlson spoke about, whether it be around behavior or around social skills or around academic skills. And then some of the things that we've just kind of done this year that are just little nuances is tied to our CKLA literacy curriculum. Our students are learning about some really interesting topics that they haven't learned about before. And so those kids are now engaging in the process of writing trivia questions for their peers. And so each Tuesday morning is Tuesday trivia. It used to be we did trivia about teachers and their lives and guess which teacher went skydiving and guess which teacher goes to the Ozarks for vacation. Now we do trivia around the things that they're learning in class. So we had questions last week about Shakespeare and what are some of the other topics we've heard?
Well, first grade even did topics on minerals, space,
Yeah.
and I mean, they were very excited. I actually had about 6 students in my room write questions for the trivia.
So then they write the question and give the answer, and we share it with the whole school before school starts in the morning, and that just gives kind of a preview to other kids about what's coming up in their academic future down the road in a couple of years. So it's been fun. The kids are really proud of themselves when they hear their trivia question asked in the gym in the morning. By the way, I don't have any for tomorrow morning, so I hope somebody gets something turned in tonight.
I have one on my desk.
All right, good. I'll pick it up in the morning. And then we have a new implementation goal. So this is one of our big focuses this year as far as this is more directed at what teachers do with instruction. And so we knew with CKLA and how thorough CKLA lessons were that we were going to have to look at ways to chunk that material into absorbable pieces for students. So that's been our goal that teachers are really focused on as far as learning something new and implementing it in the right ways this year. So that's one of the things that we're working on. And then we have a second implementation goal that we wanted to focus on. Comes into play more with social and emotional learning. We wanted to work on understanding students' backgrounds and interests. As you'll see in a couple of upcoming slides, we have some shifting demographics happening at Eisenhower. And so we're having to reach out and learn a little bit about our kids because they're kids from cultural backgrounds that we haven't been exposed to before. So there's a lot of circle times going on in class with topics based on having kids share ways that they can help each other. There are a lot of teachers using reflection journals and gratitude journals, a lot of morning check-in surveys going on with kids. And then another thing we've started is to really highlight, on Mondays, our before school activity in the gym is Weekend Warriors. And so kids talk about what they did over the weekend, whether it be softball or dance competitions or archery competitions or going fishing and being in a fishing derby. So it's just an opportunity for kids to get to share a little bit about what they're doing outside of school to advance themselves and show their interests. And we know that kids that are engaged in extracurriculars stay in school and graduate. So if we can start promoting that now in kindergarten, first and second grade, we just want to do that. And that's just our little touch that we add. The last element that we're focused on from Marzano's work is providing skills and rubrics. This is a district-wide goal as well. We feel like we're really still in the early stages, so we call this a learning goal rather than an implementation goal. But up on the screen, you see an example that I'll let Mrs. Brown talk a little bit about related to fourth grade.
So Leanna White and I, we decided that we wanted to kind of extend that the scales and rubrics to our homework to see what kind of understanding the kids had when they were taking home their homework to practice a skill or a standard that we did in class. So what the kids do when they bring their homework back, we have highlighters and they mark just a mark on the top or highlight their name as to what level they feel like they were at when they were at home the night before doing their homework. So then we can then do a real quick look at that, kind of see where they're at, and that helps us kind of guide our small groups or individual conversations. And we found that it's been pretty valuable. The kids are really very good about being pretty honest with where they're at. You know, we've had some that have went up to the 4 and then you pull them to small group and you're like, you know, maybe, you know, there's some things we can work on. But for the most part, they really do a good job. And if they don't understand it, they don't understand it and they mark it and then we can work on those things. So it's been pretty neat to see them self-rate themselves and then we can go from there with that, so.
I think in general with scales and rubrics, we're doing a lot of self-rating. So kindergartners are doing, keeping track of the letters and the letter sounds that they've learned all the way up through, from learning letters and identifying them to their sounds all the way up through CVC words. You look like you have something.
I'm going to add something. Yeah, also with my kids, when it comes to when they do their lessons, before they weren't very motivated to like get them done. It was just like not a big deal. But now that they can go out and put a coin or whatever it is they have out on the outside to get 100%, they're all about it now because it's like a goal. And so they are very motivated to do that.
So beyond our goal work, I just wanted to share a little bit with you about some of the shifts that are happening in our population. We don't have more kids at Eisenhower than we've had before. We have about the same number, but we have different kids than we had before. And so just wanted to keep you up to date on that because I know that it's something that the community's been wondering about. So we have seen a growth in our ELL population. This is my third year as the administrator at Eisenhower, and I would guess, it would be a guesstimate, that when I arrived there in the 21-22 school year, we probably had between 10 and 15 ELL identified students. I know that when I was the ELL director while I was the principal at Liberty, Eisenhower was known for having 1 or 2 incidental ELL students, not enough to provide even services. And our number right now, as of last week, we took in 1 more, was 42. Every new student that has arrived at Eisenhower School this year has been ELL. They're all non-English speaking students or limited English speaking students. As far as students with special education, individual education plans, we started we ended last year with 16 students. We currently have 21, and we have 3 more that are in the works that will be identified by the end of the year. At least 3 more, for sure. So I just wanted to thank District Office, Mr. McGrory, HR, Mr. Steemsma, for their foresight in looking at knowing that that shift was going to happen and putting some things in place prior to this year and then making some commitments to some things for us for next year to serve as resources for our students. So in the 22-23 school year, we had about a 0.3 full-time equivalent ELL teacher. This year we have a full-time ELL teacher. In the 21-22 school year when I started there, we had a half-time, maybe a little bit more than half-time, might have been about 0.6, 0.7 special ed teacher we shared with Horseman. Last year we had a full-time special education teacher. Next year we're set to have 1.5 special education teachers. And then in March of 2023, we were able to find someone. Mr. McGrory allowed us to advertise and ask for a reading interventionist in January. The right candidate wasn't out there in January, but in March, we graduated someone. And so we hired someone temporarily to do that for the rest of this school year. She's already been hired in the district as a third grade teacher, so she'll move into that role next year. And Ms. Carlson, to my left, will serve as our reading interventionist next year as a full-time reading interventionist. And that's new. That's never been something in a lot of years that's been available at Eisenhower School.
And I'm very excited about that.
And we're excited and motivated to see what kind of growth we can have with students. So with that said, the last couple of slides here are our current data realities. And as I said, every student we've added to our population of students this year has been an English language learner. So I would call our data stagnant at the moment because the body of kids that we have coming in are coming in without language skills. And so obviously they're not proficient readers when they're not proficient English language speakers. So you can see that our data is stagnant or dropping slightly at this point. So we have big goals to use all those great resources to start to grow those skill sets. The color coding on that slide is just to help you kind of visualize the cohort group. So you see their fall, winter, and spring assessment scores from last year, and then their fall and winter from this year colored in the same color. This is the literacy information. We still have really nice numbers at Eisenhower. I'm not complaining, comparatively speaking to other buildings, but we're gonna be right there with them. Is where we're gonna be soon, and then math as well. Any questions that you have for us? And I guess my last statement is just, again, thank you to the district office leadership for having the foresight to see that we had needs coming that we needed to be prepared for, and listening to teachers that were advocating and answering those questions and answering that call for help. Any questions?
Thank you, Dawn, Kelly, and Kristen. Up next, board priority to be the best. We will create a positive learning and working culture for stakeholders and embrace our community partners through communication and transparency. We have an action item with Brandon for a beverage proposal.
Yes, thank you. So every 3 years, the district goes out and submits requests for proposals for exclusive beverage vending services. So this would be all the vending machines around the district, and then the products that would be sold at athletic events and whatnot. So we put out the RFP this time, and if we could scroll down to the next one. We have 3 providers that have typically responded. Keurig Dr. Pepper, which is our current provider, they submitted a proposal. Atlantic Bottling, they've submitted proposals the past several times, and then Mahaska Beverage, they've submitted proposals in the past. They requested, they did a no bid this year, but they requested to remain on our list. So we've got a couple highlights on the next slide. The 2 proposals that we did receive, these are just the highlight pieces. They usually come with some standard fare. There's an annual contribution. Keurig Dr. Pepper offered a $19,000 annual contribution with no minimum sales requirements. Atlantic Bottling, they offered $18,000. I'll go on the Keurig ones. 30% commission on the vending sales, a sideline kit for the athletic department, and that's kind of some promotional materials and things for to hold beverages and whatnot for games, I believe. They had locked-in pricing that includes some annual increases over the term of the 3-year agreement. All current vending equipment that they have would remain in place, and they provide that free of charge. They also do all the maintenance on that equipment. Atlantic Bottling, like I said, their annual contribution was $18,000, and that was actually up a bit from the last proposal we'd received. They upped it about 20%. They also offered a 40% commission on the pop vending sales and 30% commission on all other vending sales. Their kind kind of allowance is they have a $1,000 annual merchandise allowance, and they have a booklet which shows different coolers and promotional materials that they would allow us to pick from for the events. And they also include some fixed annual increases over the course of a 3-year agreement. They provided a list. They would provide all the vending equipment that we currently have, and obviously Atlantic Bottling is Coke, I should mention. They would provide that free of charge, and then they also do all the equipment maintenance on that equipment. Some other considerations we look at, and this is where Brandon plays a big part to help because he's much more on the ground with the people who are involved with the sales and concessions and whatnot. But we look at past service performance. So we've got Keurig Dr. Pepper has been doing business with us for years, and we've got no issues there. But we also look at feedback from coaches, athletic and music boosters, program sponsors. And Brandon, if you want to talk about that a little bit, just about who
Yes,
we
so we
all
have,
kind of reach out
we have
to.
several groups that run various concession stands from like our middle school events. A separate group runs high school soccer, that runs footballs, obviously our A club. So music boosters, they run essentially everything that happens at Evans. The volleyball program runs their stuff. So we have a lot of people that are involved and working directly with these vendors. And so we thought it was important to reach out to them and just get some feedback. First, I think one of the main things that I heard from just about everybody was the service that we've gotten from Dr. Pepper has been great. The other points that they make is having kind of a one-stop shop for everything, and so has historically and moving forward to be some product that we can't get from both vendors, and so we've had to supplant that a little bit, going to Fairway or Hy-Vee or using some other places to be able to get all the product that we need, and then just product preference and what people ask for in the concessions. I mean, these are the people that run it every day, so when they're doing these sales, they understand what people are looking for when they come to the concession stand, and so that was some of the feedback that we received from them as well.
Yeah. We also look at like reference checks. Obviously, we haven't worked with Atlantic Bottling for several years. I think we had many years ago, but not since I've been here. So we reached out to schools that work with them to make sure that they deliver the same level of service, that it's comparable. We also pose questions to the vendors to kind of see about last-minute deliveries or if they'll buy back product if we get too much. And they all kind of answered the same, that they'd follow those same practices. So customer service-wise, they both kind of provided similar answers. The alternative products, Brandon talked about this a little bit, but right now we currently are purchasing at retail, what would you call that, like a powered drink, sports drink? Sports drink. So the product that is available hasn't been really popular, so we purchase at retail, which obviously costs us a little bit more money to do that now. I think they put Gatorade on the sidelines. And then alternative-wise, we also started now with the weight and conditioning program. They're looking at like a milk-based protein drink. So you kind of see these shakes, the protein things, and they use that a lot in the strength and conditioning. And we didn't have availability with that with the current vendor, so we're actually getting that from an outside source. And that's been fairly popular. I think Brandon's mentioned we've gone through quite a few cases already.
Yeah, I think in the last month we've had like 3 or 4 deliveries of it, so it's gone over really well.
Yeah, and so that was something that kind of came in as just an alternative product that was only available with one of the vendors. And then looked at prior sales volumes in history. I went back and looked at last year's sales and this year's sales, and we actually kind of had a decline a little bit in the pop category, and that's kind of our largest one. So we ran and did kind of some financial estimates, and this is hard because you're making some assumptions on commissions on the vending, but if I kind of go dollar for dollar, the annual contribution is the main area that's different, where Keurig's offering $1,000 more per year, but then Atlantic Bottling is offering a higher commission rate on those pop products, and that's probably our largest seller for commissions. So I look at what it would cost us to purchase products. Both the products, we buy water and the pop and juice and other drinks. They're comparable on their case prices, a little variability there. So when I run that, Atlantic shows maybe a little bit higher on the purchasing estimate. But then when I start looking at the commissions, based on pop being the largest sale and a larger commission rate, the net annual revenue is kind of looking at how much we would get annually, plus our commissions, and then minus what we'd have to purchase. So it's always generates a little bit of revenue on an annual basis. So the scoring actually came out with the Atlantic Bottling scoring a little bit higher. The one consideration we didn't give either is through a lot of the feedback, customer preferences. We felt that maybe some of the products that were offered by Coke are a little more popular and might result in some additional sales. And that was something that was raised by through the feedback with the coaches and the people who are working the sidelines. So with all that, we are coming forward to recommend going with Atlantic Bottling for the next 3-year cycle. Like I mentioned, they've bid with us for several years. They're a Coke distributor. They have a distribution center in Ottumwa here. We did talk about that a lot with the timing to make sure they could still deliver products on the time schedule we need. And then all the equipment would come along with it. But like I said, they've bid several years in the past. This year they've got a lot more competitive with their quote, and it kind of put the numbers in effect where it made it really close. And based on some of the feedback received, we would be, just based on the numbers and the feedback, we'd be recommending moving to the Coke Atlantic Bottling vendor for the next 3-year window. So with that, we'd welcome any questions the board has about the process or about that.
I just remember this from a long time ago. It's been a lot of years. Do they still pretty much, John, just exclusive, that's all they want to give a bid on, is for them to be exclusive? Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah, and that's where that big payment comes from. I think without the exclusivity, we would lose out on the 18 to 19,000 annual payment. And that's a nice piece. Like I said, Atlantic moved theirs up from 15 to 18 from the last bid, and so that made it a lot more competitive. And then Dr. Pepper removed, they used to have a sales limit that we'd had to hit in order to get it, and they both did away with that. So both of the proposals were very competitive. And Brandon found out when he was asking around other schools, both of these entities did a really bang-up job bringing us a really good proposal. We're getting a pretty good deal with either one of them compared to what we see in some of the neighboring districts. So all in all, it was a good bid letting and very competitive, and I think both options would provide the district revenues, but we kind of felt that the feedback we'd received that maybe one would help us a little bit with some additional sales and commissions.
And then you'd mentioned the sports drink, you brought Gatorade, so I'm assuming Powerade would be then replacing all of that.
Yeah, so historically, we've bought in some Gatorade product direct from Gatorade. Coke offers Powerade. Dr. Pepper has a sports drink now that we have stocked, and yeah, so that goes back to the preference thing, I think.
Yeah, we just haven't seen a lot of movement on it since it's been in there, so we're hoping that maybe with an alternative product, based on some of the feedback, that we could get a little better movement on some of that.
Brandon, I have one question. I've heard Dr. Pepper, the items that aren't sold at the end of the season, they'll come back and take those back and not charge the district for that. Is Coke willing to do the same? Okay.
Yep.
We specifically asked that question just to make sure.
Yeah, it's based on unopened cases, so they won't, obviously, neither company would take back an open case, but they both clarified that anything that's unopened, they'll come and give us credit for. It's how they do it, but yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the feedback pieces that we got. We want to make sure that we have.
I mean, that was another question I was going to have. I know it was a big deal years ago. I don't know if it is so much. I'm sure it probably still is. Is the short notice when you have the block party or those kind of things where Dr. Pepper would show up and give I don't know if it's free or what, but they always seem to be pretty generous with helping out teams and stuff. Is that something that they're still doing and that we can assume that both of these entities would do? Or
the way I approach that, it's always hard to ask a vendor that you're not doing business with, hey, will you give us a lot of freebies? But I think our intention would be is that we would push and ask for the same kind of treatment we'd been receiving. And they've been very open in that they want the school's business. So I would assume that we would get some of those same freebies that aren't on paper. Obviously, they're not obligated to do any of it. Keurig Dr. Pepper has been fantastic, and that was feedback we did receive. And we don't want to say anything negative about the relationship. The school's done business with them for a lot of years. They've supplied, free product and water, and they're there to help. Our expectation would be the same with any vendor that's going to work with the schools exclusively. So that would be our intention to push for those same things. And from every indication, without it being in writing, they seemed agreeable to that.
That was one concern I had too. I think Dr. Pepper's been good to us.
Yes.
I'm glad this is only a 3-year agreement.
Yep.
So then if for some reason we don't have the same kind of working relationship with Coke, we could make a change again.
Yeah, and that's always the idea of going out for proposals every 3 years, is just to see if somebody else is willing to come in a little better or offer a little better incentive or give us the chance to see if one is better well-received than the other. Because if we just stick with one, we'll never know. So, yeah, every 3 years, kind of like we did the same thing with driver's ed and, audit services and things. So it's certainly possible that in 3 years it could switch around again, but yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the beverage proposal for Coca-Cola Atlantic Bottling.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same side. Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank
John
you.
and Brandon. Up next, board priority. Through the board's financial stewardship, we will provide operations, technical, and curricular resources to staff, teachers, and administrators so that all students have consistent and sustained achievement. We have several action items here. The first one is a PTYC wage proposal with Becky, Maria, and John.
Hi, thanks for having us today. We want to share our proposal for increasing the wages of both our lead staff and support staff at Primetime Youth Care, PTYC.
So in order to recruit new staff and retain staff, we need to stay competitive in the wages that we are paying our support staff and lead staff. We haven't raised these wages since July 1st, 2021. Investing in our team not only fosters a positive work environment, but also ensures that we retain top talent and remain competitive in our industry. I'm confident that by recognizing their hard work with a raise, we will further strengthen our team's morale and drive.
Whenever Maria comes and asks for more money for anything, I get to look at the financial part. And with PTYC, that was especially concerning because you'll remember last year we came in and it was in rough shape after COVID. So we were able to put some changes in place. And I went through and looked at the review in November, and then I looked at it again through February to see how they were doing. And they finally returned to a self-sustaining model. And it's not just the other thing I looked at is if we did do a wage increase, which I see the need for based on the market out there, is I wanted to make sure it wouldn't eat up everything and then turn the program negative. So we ran some projections to see, based on the staff model, is this okay? Is PTYC going to continue to be self-sustaining? And it is. It's been doing a lot better, more consistent revenue stream, and we're not in a position where we're looking at it draining resources at a very high rate. So.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to see, you saw that the last time these wages have been increased was about 3 years ago. And moving forward, we're moving that employee group into our miscellaneous employee group so that they have that yearly bump like that employee group would, so that it's not piece and parceling together wage increases for that group of employees.
Yeah, and that would be for the existing staff. So it would also be something where we kind of set this as a base rate like we do with other groups. And some years we'll look at adjusting it, and other years we may not, but it'll be determined based on kind of where we're at and what the environment looks like. But current staff would be put on that cycle so they can expect a wage review like everybody else.
So here's where our current wages land of what we've been paying our staff. So really the wage increases for our lead staff and our support staff. And these are, our lead staff is really our groups of employees that are, they're open, closed, consistent. that we have that aren't just seasonal or maybe after school. And so we wanted to bring that wage structure to be a little more consistent. And so you see that increase of $2 an hour for the lead staff, bringing them from $12 to $14 an hour, and then an increase to $11 for an hour for our support staff. And you see that kind of like just $3 breakdown in between each of those different groups. And again, this is kind of a one-time ask here with this group of employees, current employees going into that miscellaneous grouping moving forward.
So that is pretty much it, short and sweet. Wanted to see if the board had any questions about that or anything else. No?
Okay. If we don't have any questions or comments, we'll be looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the wage increase for teacher by
Second.
staff.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Becky, Maria. Next up is schedule the public hearing for the 24-25 certified budget.
I forgot I had one more. This is just asking the board to go ahead with a publication date and scheduling the final public hearing for the budget. So we had the first one at the beginning of this meeting. We would schedule our public hearing for the final certified budget on April 22nd. I'll go ahead and publish that in the Courier this Thursday, the 11th, so that there's notice. And then we'd be back here on our next meeting, April 22nd, for the final 24-25 school year budget approval. So if there's any questions, otherwise I'd ask for the board to go ahead and schedule that.
I'd make a motion to schedule April 22nd as the, schedule the public hearing for the certified budget.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next is an OHS weight room renovation with Dave.
I have the next data if you want me to cover them all and then go over them. But
Okay.
Lana and I will tag team when we get down to the auditorium. But the OHS weight room renovation, this is the demo in preparation for our remodel this summer. So we'll be able to remove the hallway, and then eventually we'll have the new hallway installed there in the weight room. The OHS metal shop ventilation, that's in the welding shop. Brockway came in with the lowest bid at $107,072. That will greatly improve the atmosphere and the air in the welding room. Auditorium balcony railing, we by code have to put up another rail since the code changed over the years. So Winger came in with that bid at $6,600. CT overhead, part of our CT building remodel. Clot overhead doors came in at $15,568.60 for those 3 overhead doors. Auditorium lighting, I'll let Landon cover that.
Yeah, so I met with the fine arts staff, and auditorium lighting, we're recommending essentially replacing all of the lighting in the auditorium, the front of the house. If you don't know, the sconces that are on the side provide a lot of lighting, uplighting in the auditorium. We've tried to fix those for years, and we're just to the point where we're recommending to completely replace those, moving everything over to LED lighting. So they're excited about that.
Next on the list is the Wilson Elementary Playground. McClure came in at $55,857 with Park Planning at $193,723. That is going to entail a lot more demo of the existing playground. That's why is the difference between the next one of the Dalma Farney Playground with McClure coming in at $8,092 and Park Planet at $90,600. So we'll have, by the end of the summer, we'll have all those playgrounds in place. And then our last one on our list is our Liberty storage areas. We prep for 6th and 7th grade being at Liberty. We're going to need some additional inside storage. This will allow us to move some things from the building to allow the students have bag storage, equipment storage inside the building. And State Line Construction got that bid at $6,500.
Okay. Any questions about those items?
I have a question about the Wilson Playground. Isn't that fairly new? The Wilson playground?
The Wilson. The one playground to the west is not new. It's actually out of compliance with it. We are going to save the current one on the east side. We are going to put a soft, safe surface under that one, and then we're going to add back additional playground to the west.
Okay.
They're going to have a similar amount of playground that the other schools have. You're right, they have some really new equipment there, but we're going to add quite a bit. And the really nice thing about too is having that surface where you don't have all the wood chips and so forth constantly down there too. So.
Any other questions for Dave or Landon? Otherwise, we'd be looking for a motion for items C through J.
Make a motion, we approve items.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next up is superintendent report.
Thanks a lot, Christina. I first wanted to just mention the All-City Music Festival was Friday night. It was just a wonderful event. What I'm looking for is the quality, but also the magnitude of the number of students involved in our fine arts programming. You could not have fit another person in Bridgeview. It was just packed. It's exciting to see what's going on at our lower grade levels. And I wanted to share with the board, we recognize, and hopefully the board is seeing your commitment to instruments, commitment to the fine arts, how it's starting to really pay off, is when we start looking at our numbers at the lower grade levels, they're starting to get to the upper grade levels. So our Band 6, these are all next year numbers. Band 6 will have 90 students, Band 7 will have 103 students. We're starting a new intro to theater and drama at Liberty next year that has 87 students signed up for it. And then Orchestra 6, which is exciting to see, has 80 students. Orchestra 7 has 58. Our vocal music in 6th grade has 184, and Music 7 has 140. What we're trying to do and trying to create is, as that transcends up, that we start seeing much larger numbers at the high school level. And several numbers excite me a great deal is that band at 8 and 9 next year will be 96 kids. And then you have 10, 12 will be 35. So you'll have roughly about 130 students in marching band for next year because we're expanding band to 8th grade as well. So 8th through 12th grade, we'll have 130 kids in our band program, which is really exciting to me. We'll have about 165 kids in our 8th through 12th grade choir program, and we'll have almost 80 kids in our orchestra program, 8-12. And so those numbers have increased dramatically. Probably 3 years ago, we had 27 kids, I think, in orchestra 9 through 12. So I just want the board to see that, your support and commitment to our music program is really, really making a difference. The next thing I have for the board is a legislative update. As the board, I've shared with in board updates, but we were probably a little disappointed with the amount of new monies that we were given. We're given 2.5%. We were hoping 3%. Also, part of that bill was also the AA restructuring, and then also the teacher salary increases. For next year, teacher salary increases will be, for new teachers, will be $47,500. And then it will be $60,000 for 12-year teachers. So those are some of the highlights of that bill. We're still sorting out as far as all the details of the AA restructuring. What we know so far is that 40% and 60% of the monies that go to media and also educational services will go directly to the districts next year. And then they get to decide whether they spend it with the local AA or they utilize it for other ways of media and educational services. 100% next year of special ed funds will flow through for next year to the AEA. And a lot of people see that as a positive because it allows the AEA to get that funding that will hopefully keep them stable, where they get all the special ed funding, and that's really the large portion of the funding streams. The following year, the districts get 10% of the special ed funding, and then it still flows through 90% to the AEAs. So, and then right now, from that, it will stay at the 10 and 90% for special ed. So some significant changes, but also some things that I think build in some stability probably for the AEAs, which was good. Any questions about that or thoughts that the board has on the legislative updates? Okay. The next thing I have is I want to promote, we have our musical. It's called The Prom this weekend, and it's on Saturday. It will be 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock on Saturday, and then 1 o'clock on Sunday. So there's no Friday show. But I want to also promote with that is if the public is interested, they can purchase online tickets for the prom before the show. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to do that. They're also donating $1 from each ticket sale for our high school prom, which is kind of nice. Very nice of them. So yeah, I encourage people to check that out. We have incredibly talented people in our kids in our theater program, and so encourage you to check that out. The other thing I have for the board is just the next board meeting on the 22nd. We'll have a beginnergarten presentation that will talk about how we're moving forward with the beginnergarten program. I think we'll have a different name. You're probably tired of hearing beginnergarten, so. But also, it was positive to us is we have posted those positions. Right now, we're probably looking at 2 sections, and we have had 4 teachers apply for those 2 sections. So I thought that was a positive that we have interest at that level, because we were only going to staff it at the level that we had teacher interest, so it shows that we do have some interest there. So I think, Christina, that's all my updates. Thanks.
Yeah. Next on the list is board member topics. Okay, if we don't have anything for that, we'll be looking for a motion to move into closed session.
Make a motion, we move into closed session as provided by Iowa Code Section 21.5, sub 1, sub I.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. We are in closed session.